Let's begin by getting you the latest on Donald Trump's tariff tantrum. His latest announcement, Donald Trump has threatened India yet again over its purchase of Russian oil. In a post on Truth Social, Trump has said that India is not only buying massive amounts of Russian oil, they are then, for much of the oil purchase, selling it on the open market for big profits. This is Trump's claim. By the way, as expected, he's not backed it up with any evidence. But then he goes on to say in his post that India doesn't care how many people in Ukraine are being killed by the Russian war machine, as he puts it. And then in the last line of his post, Donald Trump goes ahead and says that because of this, we are going to increase the tariff on India. By how much? Really, what kind of increase are we looking at? None of those details being given right now. This comes even as Trump's aide has also called out India for trading with Russia, claiming India's funding Russia's war by buying oil from them.
Well, I understand India no longer is going to be buying oil from Russia. That's what I heard. I don't know if that's right or not, but that's a good step. We'll see what happens. Well, I understand India no longer is going to be buying oil from Russia. That's what I heard. I don't know if that's right or not, but that's a good step. We'll see what happens. Well, I understand India no longer is going to be buying oil from Russia. That's what I heard. I don't know if that's right or not, but that's a good step. We'll see what happens.
So those were the comments that Donald Trump has made previously. Today, in his latest post, he said that we will be increasing the tariff on India because of India's ties with Russia. I want to bring in Gaurav Sawant to understand why really this is being done. Gaurav, how do you really understand this about why Trump has resorted to going ahead and increasing the tariff once again on India? By how much, we don't know yet.
You know, Akshita, Donald Trump is trying, does appear prima facie, to bully India into submission. And India is holding firm. India has made one thing very clear. India will continue to buy oil from Russia. There are no sanctions on Russian oil. There's just a $60 price cap. So India is following all international norms here. And India refines that oil and then exports it to Europe, for example. So Europe is buying that refined oil. G7 countries are buying that Russian oil that India refines and then exports. India does not buy oil, for example, from Venezuela or Iran, where there are, US sanctions and not UN sanctions. That's point one. Point two, look, India is the third largest energy consumer in the world, and India is 85% dependent on its energy needs. So India cannot not take oil from Russia. If it were to rely only on West Asia, for example, that would spike prices. That would lead to a big spike in oil prices, and Indian economy and Indian consumers will be adversely impacted. And that's something that Prime Minister Narendra Modi and External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar have repeatedly made very clear to the world. You remember when that that special operations of Russia started in Ukraine, oil prices in 2022 had shot up to about $137 per barrel. There are some reports that seem to indicate that if India does not buy Russia or the oil from Russia, the prices could cross the 150, touch or go beyond the $200 per barrel, and it could lead to recession. So India is buying that $60 a barrel oil, and those are caps kept by the G7 countries, refining it and then exporting it to those countries. So following all norms, and that is why India perhaps does not want to buckle under American president's pressure on
Rightly
oil.
so.
Incidentally,
Yeah.
reports seem to indicate some of that refined oil is also purchased by the United States and other European Union countries.
India is not budging, and the reality is, Gaurav, that what we're seeing essentially is Trump's flip-flop on Russia. 1 second is a dost, 1 second dushman, and as a result of it, suddenly he's piling on India for our relationship with Russia. Thanks very much, Gaurav, for joining us on this broadcast. Let's just put it in context for our viewers. As far as, Russia's crude exports are concerned, we break it down country-wise for you. What you'll notice here is a very interesting number that China and India are taking most of Russia's oil. And actually topping that list is China at 36%, India there at 28%. So there's a difference there. China's number one. Trump, of course, has tried this tactic with China. It didn't really work. You look at it, and the numbers that we're putting out right now is essentially million barrels per day from 2021 all the way to 2024. The data from 2024 shows you how really there's been a considerable change in countries trading with Russia. China still at number one at 2.4 million barrels per day. India at 1.9 million barrels per day. Like I said, Trump tried to go ahead and also punish China for various reasons, not just for their Russia tie-up. China stared him right in the eye, and so he's forced to back off and agree to some sort of a deal. India too has made it very clear that our interests will not be compromised just because of Donald Trump continuing to threaten us with more and more tariffs. What's also happening as a result of Donald Trump issuing these kind of threats and constantly being unpredictable at a time that supposedly trade talks were supposed to happen between India and America is that there's an axis of sorts being created where you have India and Russia now getting closer than ever before, courtesy America, courtesy Donald Trump. Here's a report on that.
It is not acceptable for India to continue financing this war by purchasing the oil from Russia.
Tensions between the US and India over trade rise after President Donald Trump announced a 25% tariff and penalties on New Delhi. Trump's top aide has now accused India of financing Russia's war in Ukraine. Miller tempered his criticism by noting that Trump's relationship with Prime Minister Narendra Modi is tremendous.
So President Trump, he wants a tremendous relationship and has had always a tremendous relationship with India and the Prime Minister. But we need to get real about dealing with the financing of this war. So President Trump, all options are on the table to deal diplomatically, financially, and otherwise with the ongoing war in Ukraine so we can achieve peace and end the war that the Democrat Party and Joe Biden are responsible for.
India is holding its fort. Prime Minister came out swinging, calling for a national push to support local industry, urging Indians to buy and sell local.
ऐसा कोई भी राजनीतिक दल हो, कोई भी राजनेता हो, उसने अपने संकोच को छोड़ करके देश हित में हर पल, हर बार, हर जगह देशवासियों के अंदर एक भाव जगाना होगा। अब हम कुछ भी खरीदें तो एक ही तराजू होना चाहिए। हम उन चीजों को खरीदेंगे जिसे बनाने में किसी न किसी भारतीय का पसीना बहा है।
Trump just days earlier called India a dead economy, lumping it with Russia. But Modi insists that India is on track to become the world's third largest economy and is prioritizing farmers and domestic industry first.
भारत भी दुनिया की तीसरी सबसे बड़ी अर्थव्यवस्था बनने जा रहा है। हमारे किसान, हमारे लघु उद्योग, हमारे नौजवानों के रोजगार, इनका हित हमारे लिए सर्वोपरि है।
Trump is also turning up heat on Kremlin, giving Russia until August 8th to stop the war on Ukraine or face fresh US sanctions.
There's a lot of people being killed in that ridiculous war. We stopped a lot of countries from war, India and Pakistan. We stopped a lot of countries. And we're going to get that one stopped too. Somehow we're going to get that one stopped. That's a really horrible.
As pressure mounts from the West, India's pivot towards its longtime partners, Russia. This may be more than just economic pragmatism. It could mark a long-term strategic shift. Bureau Report, India Today.